Hello. My name is John Fisher. Maybe you've heard me on the CBC, reporting different activities and sometimes my own experiences. But today, I'd like to chat with you a while about a friend of mine I met some time ago. We came across each other quite by accident. He was sort of bequeathed to me. Let me introduce him to you. Here he is. Now, his name is Sammy Sealskin. The finest and most unusual piece of luggage a man can own. The only difference between him and other suitcases is that Sammy can talk. It all happened one night when I was sitting here, right where I am now, trying to decide where to go for a holiday. There were several travel folders scattered about the room through which I had been casually leafing, but somehow I just couldn't make up my mind where to go. And I was about to take a travel folder on Newfoundland and add it to the rejected pile when, from somewhere around the room, I heard a voice saying, "Hey, wait a minute, mister, don't throw that away. Newfoundland, that's a place worth considering." Yeah, it was Sammy speaking. The voice came from Sammy, our old friend. And I thought at first that I was imagining it too. But I told you, Sammy is a most unusual suitcase. But let me tell you, what Sammy related to me that night about his visit to the island of Newfoundland. The story began some time ago when Sammy was placed in a department store window. He was spanking new, genuine, polished sealskin, made in Canada and all that, and he was selling for $65.50 plus sales tax. Now, you'd think that that'd be enough to make any normal suitcase happy, wouldn't you?
But not Sammy. He wanted to get out and see something of the world, maybe visit Florida or Bermuda. Often he complained out loud.
You'd think someone would want a genuine sealskin suitcase now, wouldn't you? Here's a fellow who looks like he needs a holiday. Ah, he's coming in. And there I go.
And so the journey began. Unfortunately, his first brush with the outside world didn't impress him too much.
Oh, that did it. I feel like a stuffed turkey. Wonder where we're bound.
He was soon to find the answer. At the airport, Sammy bumped into a lady suitcase.
Charming. Where's your destination?
Read it yourself.
It says St. John's. Well, that's where I'm going. By the way, what is NFLD?
Newfoundland, of course. The most easterly point of Canada.
Oh, no. That's north. I thought we were going south. I can imagine what kind of a holiday this is going to be.
In his mind, Sammy visualized Newfoundland as a frozen wasteland, with vast stretches of ice and barren trees and snow piled high, and people continually bundled in furs to protect them from the biting winds. But Sammy was wrong. If he could have looked into the future, he would have discarded his fur coat for a bathing suit. And in place of frozen ice and snow, Sammy would have seen modern swimming pools and splashing lovelies. But that's getting ahead of the story. Soon both Sammy and his master were winging their way to Newfoundland, with its softly rolling hills rising out of a sapphire blue sea. After a touchdown at Gander, often called the crossroads of the world, the plane landed at Torbay Airport, just outside the capital city of St. John's. Brilliant sunshine and a gentle sea breeze greeted passengers as they alighted from the airplane. Here, Sammy got himself involved in a little incident. Apparently, a lady engaged a taxi just outside the terminal, and the driver picked up Sammy by mistake, thinking that he was her property. Then along came his owner. Quite a mix-up. Well, anyway, it finally came out all right, and everyone was happy, especially our tourist friend, who seemed much more interested in the lady than his luggage. After a rather confusing arrival, it was a pleasure to reach the modern Newfoundland Hotel with its splendid views of the city. With scenery much too inviting for an amateur photographer to resist, it didn't take long for our friend to get out and have a look around. The oldest city in North America, St. John's, has many interesting landmarks. Among them, the Newfoundland War Memorial. On this same spot, Sir Humphrey Gilbert took possession of the island in 1583 for the first Elizabeth of England. Here on Signal Hill in 1901, Signor Marconi received the first transatlantic wireless signal. To the right stretched Pepperell Air Force Base, leased by the United States government since 1940. And to the left lay the city itself. A very friendly relationship has grown steadily between the Newfoundlanders and the U.S. forces. At Colonial Building, the seat of the Newfoundland government, a group of United States airmen watched the traditional ceremony of the opening of the Newfoundland legislature. The Newfoundland policeman looks a great deal like the English Bobby. Of course, for many hundreds of years, this island was Britain's oldest colony. Later, an independent dominion, and only since 1949, Canada's newest province. Sammy the Suitcase remembered that the camera was very proud to have captured this colorful ceremony. The St. John's waterfront is situated on one of the world's most sheltered natural harbors, and ships from all over the world are to be found here, some to fish and others to trade. Wandering along the quays, there's much to explore and absorb from this outstandingly nautical atmosphere. Artists have traveled thousands of miles to set up their easels here and paint enchanting harbor scenes, much like those that inspired such great masters as Bruegel, Turner, and Lorraine. The Alcock Brown Memorial commemorates the first transatlantic airplane flight, which originated here in 1919. A vacation wouldn't be complete without a game of golf. Ballyhaley Golf and Country Club at St. John's has one of the finest 18-hole courses in North America. Here, perhaps the most romantic incident for the whole trip occurred. The golf clubs couldn't wait to get back to the hotel to relate what happened. They said it was love at first sight. And let me tell you about it. When our friend arrived at the golf course, he noticed that one of the girls playing there looked very familiar. And of course, it turned out to be the lady from the luggage mix-up. And before anyone knew quite what was happening, Charles and Tony had decided to see the island together. First, they agreed on a good old-fashioned picnic with fresh Newfoundland lobster as the main dish. Lobster, like so many other fish delicacies, halibut, capelin, rosefish, trout, and cod, are found in abundance here. So they got one fresh from the sea, and they popped him into the pot. Delicious as it was, Charlie seemed to have more of an eye for the lass than the lobster. It was doubtful if he knew just what he was eating. Sammy Sealskin and his friends saw their master for only very short periods, but somehow news trickled back each evening as one after the other came into the round of activity. One thing they all agreed on, it was an ideal setting for romance. Interesting sports and events cropped up with each new day. The tennis racket was in for many a game, played in the city or in the country against a background of rolling surf, rocky cliffs and multicolored flowers. From the grateful pat he received, Sammy knew that Charles was having the time of his life. Tony and Charles acquired golden tans as they swam or relaxed on the shore. and many times they rented a sailboat and spent hours skimming along the bay in the exhilarating sea breeze, sometimes stopping to watch fishermen jigging squid, as this was a new experience for both of them. They agreed, along with Sammy Sealskin, that Newfoundland was more than a country, it was a way of life. Returned to the hotel one day, hot and tired from constant clicking. He'd had quite an experience attending the annual regatta. He described what he had seen to a very attentive audience. Regatta Day is a big event in the lives of Newfoundlanders, a time when they gather around a lake called Kitty Vitty for boat races, games of chance and prizes amid a general holiday atmosphere. The young couple joined in the fun with enthusiasm and returned to the hotel in the evening, tired but happy. Nighttime in the city inspired the unpacking of tie and tuxedo and chic strapless dresses. Charming. With a choice of nightclubs or intimate bars in either the old world atmosphere which Newfoundlanders have preserved or the very modern which they have cultivated, visitors can find much to entertain them. Seated in secluded corners, Tony and Charles enjoyed each other's company, talking over the day's activities and planning future adventures. Each had ideas of what he or she wanted to see and do. They rose with the sun and started their first trip to places of interest outside the city. Sammy Sealskin, the fishing tackle, and their friends were all cozily tucked away in the luggage compartment of the car, and off they went to explore new fields. The gate to the Roman Catholic Church at Bay Bulls, some 20 miles from the city, came in for a quick survey. The gate posts are French and English cannon, mute reminders of Newfoundland's historic past. Charles and Tony found it well worth the effort to climb the gentle, furrowed green hills of Fairyland to get a full view of the verdant countryside. Sir George Calvert, who later became Lord Baltimore, established a colony here in 1623 and later founded the city of Baltimore, Maryland. The many quaint place names were a constant source of amazement to the young blonde couple who heard for the first time settlements called Horse Chops, Come by Chance, Little Heart's Ease, Snake's Bite, Jerry's Nose, and Mistaken Cove. At Heart's Content, they stopped to admire a memorial which had been erected to the first successful landings of the Atlantic cable in 1866, thus connecting the old world with the new. Being so closely associated with the sea, it was not surprising to find many lighthouses along the shore. Charles and Tony climbed over a rocky setting to reach the Barber Pole Lighthouse at Heart's Content, from which they could see far out into the Atlantic. All along the way, attractive hotels and cabins offer the traveler comfort and the warm hospitality for which Newfoundlanders are world famous. At Swift Current, small, comfortably furnished cabins lie scattered through a wonderland of trees and wildflowers near rippling rivers teeming with fish. Here it was off with restricting clothes and into something comfortable for a canoe trip on the river. Of course, Sammy was left to amuse himself, but then you wouldn't expect to see a suitcase in a canoe, would you? At Grand Falls in central Newfoundland, the couple admired the gigantic machines of the huge pulp and paper company. Then after refreshments at the staff house, they again took their golf clubs to visit the fine Grand Falls course. Corner Brook on Newfoundland's west coast was the next stop. Here, the Glyn Mill Inn, a cozy hostel built on the style of an old English manor house, provided the fashionable decor and excellent cuisine for which it is renowned. From a high vantage point overlooking the town, the couple also admired the charming homes so artistically landscaped, and the huge factories and stockpiles of the world's largest pulp and paper mill. One of the beauty spots of this area is the Steady Brook Falls, nearly 100 feet of iridescent water cascading into the breathtaking Humber Valley. Myriads of lakes and rivers flow into the greater Humber River, each with trout and salmon to thrill the heart of any sportsman. Fly casting near Shellbird Island, where the world-famous Newfoundland salmon await the ardent fisherman, Charles had very little luck. He found more to interest him on the shore than in the river, so forfeited his chances with the fish. There was such a variety of scenic splendor, the camera was in constant action. Charles even found a horse willing to pose for him. The road from Bond Bay to Trout River displayed fascinating mountains in grays and purples sweeping down to the sea. Here they almost expected to see Hopalong Cassidy or the Lone Ranger on their horses, silhouetted against the western-like skyline as they galloped off in pursuit of the outlaw. Actually, the only shooting done in these parts is in the moose and caribou season. Then, many eager hunters from all over the North American continent come to Newfoundland. Tony took a stroll around, while Charles stopped for refueling at a small wayside station. Not the most modern in the world, but probably the only place he could get so much local information with his gasoline. So equipped with all kinds of knowledge, they decided to visit the Big Falls, where in season, you can often snap a picture of salmon leaping the falls in their drive upstream to spawn. A visit to Corner Brook wouldn't be complete without a boat trip on the Humber Arm. Sammy Sealskin and his friends were a little fearful of the water, so they were left behind. After cruising for an hour or so, it was time for a mug-up. Tony, who'd been promoted to first mate, had prepared a steaming cup of tea, which tasted especially good in the open air. Every visitor to Newfoundland wants to jig a codfish. So for Tony and Charles, it was jiggers over the side. Tony got the first one. And then Charles, not to be outdone, displayed his skill by landing another beauty. Tony and Charles hated to see the end of their delightful holiday, but it was time to be all aboard for home, with wonderful memories of Newfoundland, an island paradise to those who visit here, providing even romance to a chosen few. So with reluctant goodbyes, their hopes were expressed in words friends called to the happy couple from the dock. Come back again next year. You're always welcome in Newfoundland.
A happy thought, isn't it? Welcome to Newfoundland, and a very genuine one. Well, that's the story that Sammy Sealskin told me. Say, he's looking a little travel-weary, isn't he? But I think I'll take him with me when I next go to Newfoundland. And I'll bet he'll have as much fun as I'm going to. Maybe we'll be seeing you there. So long.